the modules. So these are where your rules are going to be. So the rules are basically for each kind of file, what kind of loader and rules are you going to have for that file. And in Webpack, if you're going to see, it's basically a loader. What it is a library or code that basically translates whatever you're doing. If, for example, this is a text file, it's doing the raw loader. So that raw loader is going to get the text file and convert it over into whatever we need, or something that Webpack can read, obviously, and then build your application. View, it's going to use the view loader. This is basically just JavaScript. It's going to use Babel Loader. So this is actually using Babel 7. And in Babel 7, you can pass the core.js options. So core.js 3, use built-in. So this is the entry of the built-in. And you can go into a little bit more about that. So this is Babel Loader. All right, so yeah, Babel Loader 7. So Babel Loader 8. Okay, cool. Maybe I'll get on that. I'm still on 7. So this package allows transpiling JavaScript files using Babel and Webpack. So it's pretty simple stuff. It transpiles your ES6, ES7 code into just plain vanilla JavaScript. So the browsers and all of that can read your code. Well, let's go back to it. So these are the options that I have. And let me see where core.js, Babel Core. Okay, right here. So this fixes Babel. Instead, install Babel Core, in this case of your dependencies installed in Babel, and you cannot uninstall yourself. So has been moved to, yeah, so I am using Babel Core basically because they moved it to it. And well, you will see, like I believe it builds it a little bit faster than what it used to. Okay, so and core.js, the following. Okay, since Babel includes a polyfill that includes a custom generated runtime, and core.js, the following using shimming will not work. Okay. Okay, default is a string composed by Babel Core. So basically, Babel Core is what's compatible with Babel 7. And this is the builder they had. Before, you had to like import a bunch of different libraries. They just compiled it into one, and it's Babel Core. I'm using debug mode, using the entry point, so what's up there. And then the targets is the browsers that I'm going to be using. In this case, I'm using defaults. But I have other projects, and I'm just going to show you that real quick, where basically we need compatibility with like Internet Explorer 8. I'm just kidding, but 9. And we need to move that, and I'll show you the website where you can go and look at exactly what you need for that. So let me go into the Webpack file in here, and this, by the way, is a WordPress website. I'm still using Webpack for it. And here you look at the browser. So for example, I'm targeting here 0%. So basically every single browser available out there. You don't need to do that all the time, but it's a good idea if you're working with a website that thousands of people are looking at. The website you want to use is called browser list. So browserl.ist. And I'll leave a comment. I'll leave it in the comments so you can see it. And basically the defaults are Chrome, Android. You know, it gives you all the list of the defaults that they're using. Global coverage, it's 90%, 90.77%. And I believe there's a library that builds right into your projects. I haven't given that a try. And basically, you can do it right from the project. But basically what I had on the other project that I just showed you, let me just open that again. 0%, like you're gonna see, it's like cover everything. The more you have, obviously, is the bigger your code is gonna be. In this case, it's absolutely necessary for me to do that because like that's what the client requires. A lot of people in their website are going, and they are from all kinds of browsers, older browsers. It's an older demographic, so Internet Explorer, a lot of Windows computers. So here is the less than 0%. So that's basically everything. As you see, 99.01% coverage. So here is like for all my images, the GIF, PNG, JPEG or JPE, SVG, what are we going to use? We use the URL loader, we use the SVG URL loader, and these are just more loaders. And if you want to look at some of the documentation for that, you can always go here into the Webpack options and documentation, and you can see exactly what each loader does. For example, URL loader works like a file loader, but can return data URL if the file is smaller than a byte. So it just gives you a little bit of a more explanation on it. Again, so I'm using Babel Loader here for the JS, and I am also using Babel Loader here for another, I believe that's just a copy. That shouldn't be there. Yeah, that's just copying the same object over. Okay, so now for SCSS, I use SCSS to build the CSS. So basically I'm using view style loader, so that's for SCSS that's inside of a view component. So actually this is the older project. Go back to this one. That was a WordPress project. SCSS, so right here, if you go back in modal, for example, you can see that I'm using this lang SCSS. That's what that is gonna actually understand and load it for us. And then he uses CSS loader, SAS loader, source maps, and then the CSS file is just a view style loader with the CSS loader. And I'm also using an extract plugin, so it extracts text plugin for all the CSS files and it chunks them too. So if I go and look at front end, and I'll look for the CSS file right here, you see it's got the same hash just like the JavaScript files. So I'll go back to that, boom. And this right now it's running in development, but if I was to run it in production, that's how it'll work. Copy plugin, so that's just basically me copying some font awesome into a certain directory that I needed in. The manifest plugin, so this actually, we can read about it a little bit more. If we go into the typical application or site built with Webpack, there are three main types of code: the source code you and maybe your team have written, a third party, which is the vendor, Webpack runtime and manifest that conducts the interaction of all the modules. This article will focus on the last three parts: the runtime, blah blah blah. So all in all, it gives you a manifest file with the map for each one of the hashed files. And the way I'm doing it is I'm getting with PHP, I'm loading it, and then that's pretty much how I'm loading my assets. So I just pass a little function that what it does is that it gets the file from the manifest and then it gives me the right file that I need. Because obviously, because it's hashed, I can just call for the hash. I will have to like change it every single time in the code, and I can show you a little bit of how that will look like. So if I go into the front end .blade.php, you see right here, find assets. So instead of me just loading front.css, you know, like this right here, this is actually going into the theme service. So everything in Laravel is a theme service, and you can inject that into your blade. Maybe I'll do a video on that. And then if you want to find the asset right here, that's what I'm doing. So I'm just string replacing blah 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 and removing the distribution file. Like, you don't have to do this, but that's how I do it. Then finding the CMS theme and then blah blah blah. But here is where I wanted to take you. This is what that manifest plugin is going to give us. I'm gonna make sure I look at the right one. This is the themes. So it gives you like a map, like I was saying. Like, here is the runtime front CSS. It becomes this front CSS. Runtime becomes this hash. Runtime CSS becomes this hash, and it gives you like that for everything pretty much. And then right here on the theme service, that's how I'm actually decoding that, getting the file, decoding it, and then get me the right file name, which is this file name string replace. So pretty much only this front end.css give me right here from the manifest. So give me front end.css, give me that file, boom. And that's how it knows exactly what file it's loading on the CSS. And if you look at the JavaScript, it's the same thing. So the vendors, runtime, and front end. The result for this is like if you actually check on my website and Google page speed, you get caps lock off. So one day I was just, hey, I want to optimize it all the way, and let's do it on Pingdom and Pingdom tools. Let's do it from not Tokyo, it's gonna take forever, Washington. And also let's do GT metrics. So actually should have done HTTPS, but you see, if I do HTTPS, it'll actually be a faster code. That's not done. It's still doing. It's still going. So here, 93 instead of 91. So that's mobile, and this is desktop. So 99%, and that's basically, I was going through these optimizations and what it was asking for, and it's some of it is like, hey, the browser needs a hash and blah blah blah. So that's what I did it, and that's why I did it like that. You don't have to do it like that, but that's why I did it. You don't have to say, hey, I want to name this a hash. You can just do .css, and it's gonna give you the file name .css, and you can do the same for JavaScript. So it'll be, instead of name.hash, it'll just be name.js. And then you wouldn't need, if you don't do that, then you're not gonna need the manifest plugin. Obviously you're not gonna need this clean Webpack plugin. It just cleans it up. Once you are running, it just cleans up all the garbage and the files that you're not using anymore, and just erases them from the directory that you're working on. And then compression plugin, it's that it just compresses your file. So basically that's what I'm setting, and how I'm setting everything. Let me take you into me running this. So I'll show you, like, if I run npm run watch webpack watch env local, so now it's going to run a local version, which is not going to optimize, it's not going to do any of that. It's just going to give me that, but 9 seconds, it's still pretty slow. I can optimize some of the images, maybe a 80% reduction. So I do need to optimize the images, and this will be a lot better. This is a 504 kilobyte. You always want to keep it below 1 megabyte. And then here's the load time. So basically that's what it is. It's just, you need to fix some of the images, but I can live with that. Still fast enough. I want it under 2 seconds. That's the key. Okay. So having said that, I believe that's the end of the journey. You will do something like this: module exports equals, and I'm passing an array of what I wanted to do. So if I had different builds, I can pass them all in here into this array. For your example, or if you're trying to get this done on your website, you can just do something like this: module exports equals the function blah blah blah, and then do that. Like, this takes either the object or an array of the objects from Webpack, that configuration that you're trying to pass. And I just gave you like a brief overview of like all my setup, but you can, as you see, if you go to the options page in the documentation and you go through all the documentation in Webpack, or some of it, you don't need to go through it all, but as you need, you can just look at it and you're gonna find something. I hope what I'm achieving with this video is to, like, if you're trying to use Webpack and you're interested in it, and maybe you're scared a little bit like I was, because it's overwhelming when you see a large file like that. But once you understand a little bit of what's going on and all the configuration, I think it gets better. And honestly, I don't know, I like using right from the horse's mouth. I think libraries are good and all, but I also like to, like I said before, understand a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes. So with that, I'll leave you, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will be back next week with some more tutorials and some more explanations. If you have something in mind that you want to talk about, please leave a comment, follow me, subscribe to the channel, and have a blessed week, and have a great day, have a great night, and keep fighting the good fight.